Hi everyone, and welcome back for another video. As you guys can tell by the title of this video, I wanted to get on here and share my car testimony video. So with that being said, let's go right ahead and get started. Alright guys, so I hope to not make this video super long, but I had to get on here and share my car testimony video because I told God I was going to do that when we did get blessed with a car. And also I feel like this would be encouragement for you that may be waiting on a blessing from God and just need a boost of encouragement. So yeah. So back in January of last year was when me and my husband started looking for a car. Now, before we even started looking back from a car, let's just kind of do a backstory of what happened with our old car. So when we moved here, because we're originally from Florida, we moved here in Georgia in 2020, and we had a 2010 Honda Pilot. This was a used car. We bought it from the auction wreck. We ended up paying to get it fixed, and you know, the car was good, it was working. And then I want to say around maybe 2021, I don't think we even had the car for a full year, maybe a full year, if that. And then it started giving us problems. Now, we did consult with two different mechanics. The first mechanic, he ended up scamming us and never fixing a car. We ended up paying for the parts to get the car fixed. And we even paid the mechanic half the payment to fix the car. And he pretty much ran off with the money, said he was going to... He said he was going to fix the car, never showed up to fix the car. So we ended up just taking that as a loss, because listen, we not about to get locked up behind somebody that obviously needed the money more than we did. So yeah, we ended up losing out on pretty much almost $500 because we had to pay for the parts, and it was around like $200 something, and then the $250 that we gave the mechanic. So pretty much that was a loss. And then we ended up contacting another mechanic, probably I want to say maybe a month to maybe a few months after that incident. We ended up contacting another mechanic, and he told us that all the car needed was a small screw, y'all. Like, it was literally just a small screw, and he said the car would be up and running. But then we ran into we ran into something else. The screw that we needed because of COVID, the car dealership, the Honda car dealership, as well as like other vendors that sold the part, they were they told us that the part was on back order, and that they didn't have an estimated of arrival of when that part would be back in stock because of COVID. You know, they were not shipping things overseas, and it was just a big whole, you know, thing. So we ended up having to pretty much wait until we were going to be able to get the part. Now, to kind of backtrack a little bit, originally the first mechanic that took our money and ran, he told us that the car needed he told us it was like he gave us 3 different things that was wrong with the car. And you know, we're not mechanics, so naturally we assumed that, you know, what he was telling us was what was wrong with the car. And he also had worked on previous cars from the neighbor that stayed next to us. My husband was good friends with our neighbor, and he asked them for that mechanic information, and we saw him work on multiple cars that our neighbor had, and he always did a pretty good job. So, you know, we was like, okay, let's hire him. So yeah, he ended up telling us that it was like 3 different things wrong with the car. He had us order 3 different parts, ended up stealing the money. And then when we hired the new mechanic, he just said that the car was missing a small screw, and we were like, are you serious? Like, we paid, pretty much wasted $500 something on parts and paying someone to fix it, and we just missing this small little screw, y'all. So months went by, the part never pretty much came back in stock, and then we had just reached the point of just being over it. We said that we were going to sell the car. Now, mind you, we had already been without the car for pretty much, I think the car stopped working the second half of 2021 going into 2022. So we didn't have a car for the second half of 2021 all the way until pretty much 2023. So we had been without that car for pretty much like a year, going on 2 years. And the car had a paper tag on it because we had never got the paper transfer, because the dealership that the car originally came for, he said that he had lost the paperwork to the car. So we ended up having to and he said that it was going to be pretty much, we were going to have to pay over $1,000+ to get the paper transferred from where it originally came from. And we were like, no, we're not going to do that, because the amount of money that we're going to spend just to have the paperwork transfer into our name is pretty much going to be the amount of money that we could spend as a down payment on a new car, or even to even get a new car. So at that point, we were just like, okay, this car is pretty much a limit. Like, we can't do anything with it. So then we were like, we can't sell it because we don't have the paperwork. So let's just give it to the auction, because by the time we were getting ready to give it to the auction, the community that we stay in, they ended up towing the car. They had put a sign on our car saying that we can't, our tag was expired, and that we can't have any cars in our parking lot that with expired tags. So, you know, in the midst of us trying to get the paperwork and also trying to find someone to buy the car, because pretty much like give it to the people that buy junk cars, they ended up towing the car. So we were like, no. At that point, we were just like, okay, maybe this was a sign that we needed to get rid of the car, because the car was already, you know, it was an auction car. And that's one thing I will not recommend: buying an auction car wrecked, fixing it. And no, don't do that. Just get a car that's already fixed and call it a day. So we had pretty much went without the car for like almost 2 years. And then by the time once 2023 rolled around, January of 2023 is when we started our car journey. We started looking for a new car. So originally we went on CarMax. We was looking for a used car that's like $15K or less, because, you know, we had never bought like a new car off the lot, and we didn't want to have a high car note, because we just didn't want to add any more unnecessary bills than what we already were paying. So we were thinking, okay, let's get a car that's 15,000 or less under 100,000 miles on it, and calling it a day. No, ma'am. We went on CarMax. We we had found a car. We contacted someone from CarMax, did the credit application. He said that based off my husband's credit at the time, that our car note was going to be around $800, because they were charging us a high interest rate because of the credit. And we were just like, no, like $800, pretty much almost $900 a month for a used car with over 100K miles on it. We were like, no, we'll go buy it. No. So during that time, you know, I had been praying to God, and I had been, you know, asking God to bless us with the car. And originally, when I first asked God for a car, I wasn't like I didn't know what car I wanted. I just wanted God to bless us with a car, because we had been without a car for almost 2 years, and my husband was paying hundreds of dollars every month just to catch an Uber to go to and from work. And you know, once you add those Uber charges up to go to work and to come back every day, like it adds up pretty much to a car note payment that you could pay on a car. So, you know, I was praying to God. I was journaling. I was asking God, you know, can you, basically, you know, God, you know, we need a car. Can you bless us with a car? I started watching a lot of car testimony videos. And in the videos, I noticed that a lot of people were saying that they were asking for, you know, a specific car, or they would go into details with the car that they wanted, like the color, the tires, the car amount, etc. So I was like, you know what? I need to do that, because I noticed that anytime I ask God for something, I'm not really very specific with what I want. I always just say, just give me this, give me that. And I feel like, you know, when you not specific with what you want, God gonna just give you whatever. And you can't get mad because you didn't specify what you wanted. So long story short, I ended up finding the Kia Carnival. Now this Carnival, I had saw this Carnival probably 2 years prior. Someone on Instagram her and her husband had just bought the car for their family. They had just had a third child, and I had fell in love with the car. It was a nice minivan. It didn't look like a minivan, but it was really nice. It was spacious, and I was like, you know, we got a big family. We can't get no SUV or no other car because it's not gonna house all of us. So I had set my mind on getting a Kia Carnival, and I looked up the Kia Carnival. I looked at the newer models, and I had fell in love with this the newer Kia Carnival. This was the 2024 Kia Carnival, and I wanted the blue color with all black. No, I think it was black and white interior. I got into detail, y'all, and I had started praying. I had started asking God specifically for this car, the Kia Carnival. Now mind you, my husband, he's not a minivan person, but he was like, okay, he was cool with it at first, but you know how guys are, they just probably say yeah just to shut you up. So yeah, me being me, I'm thinking about husband, you know, all cool with the minivan, whatever like that. So I was praying to God. I was asking God for a minivan. I meant for the Kia Carnival. And then One day, I don't remember, I'm gonna put the specific date on the screen because I wrote when I had that dream, I wrote the date down and everything that happened in the dream. So, while in the process of me praying and reading my Bible and things like that, and journaling, talking to God, asking God for this car, God had gave me a dream. So in a dream, me, my husband, and our children, we was at the car dealership and we was buying a car. Now, we'll be honest, I wasn't sure exactly what car it was in the dream, because it was kind of like, I knew we were buying a car, and naturally I assumed it was the car that I had been asking God for us. But we were at the car dealership looking at a car, but I couldn't see the make, the model, the color. Like, I couldn't really remember, I couldn't see any of that. I just know that we were pretty much like getting in the car to check it out, but I couldn't figure out what car it was. But I do remember the car salesman, and I do remember us all being at the car dealership. And I also remember in the dream, we were supposed to get 2 cars for the price of one. Like, for one car payment, we were supposed to be getting 2 cars. So, I had that dream, and I had, told my husband. I was really debating on whether I wanted to share with my husband, because I always feel like sometimes certain dreams is kept between you and God. But nonetheless, I told my husband. My husband was excited, so I had been praying, and I was just thanking God, for the dream and etc. Now, mind you, once I had this dream, I'm thinking like the car on the way, like we about to get this car in 2 weeks. And I forgot to mention, in the dream also, me and my husband was laying in the bed, and I was getting ready to pray, and my husband was on his phone, and he was like, "Oh, I'm not waiting no 2 weeks." And when he said that, I had took my phone and I looked up my credit, and my credit had went up to 700, and I started crying. I couldn't even get my words out. I was like, and then I had shown my husband the phone. I was like, I know there's nothing but God. So when I had that dream, I'm thinking that we're about to get this car like real soon. We're about to get this car in 2 weeks. Because when my husband had said 2 weeks in the dream, so naturally I assumed 2 weeks meant we're gonna get a car in 2 weeks. Now, mind you, this whole process took months. Like, literally, this whole process took months. So from January all the way until October is when we got our car. In October, I'm gonna obviously share with you guys the date and everything, but that whole time, like during that whole time span, we had been looking at different cars. We even were willing to settle on a cheap car just so we don't have a high car note. We also during that time, my husband did sign up with a credit agency to fix his credit, to give us a higher chance at a lower car note. And also during that time, we also had still been applying for financing. So we did end up applying for financing for the car that was $15K through this was a credit union. We had applied for a car loan through a credit union, and long story short, it didn't go through. Like, literally every way we turned, didn't go through. Now, mind you, we wasn't applying for the Kia Carnival. We were applying for a used car, like that was 15,000 or less, or maybe around 20K or less, and it had high mileage on it. And then after pretty much being denied left and right, we were like, okay, we just gonna leave it up to God at this point. Like, there's nothing else for us to do. So then fast forward to me having that dream. After I had that dream, 2 weeks passed by and nothing. We didn't get approved. We didn't get approved for no loan. Like nothing happened. And I had went back to God, and I was, sad, and I was crying. I was like, God, how come, we didn't get the car? Like, what's going on? I thought we were going to get the car in 2 weeks. I feel like, nothing's happening. We're being denied left and right, etc., etc. So then, me and after I talked with God, I still told God, I trust you. I have faith. I'm not going to give up. So, October came. Me and my husband were in the bed, and my husband was like, let's look at some cars. By that time, we were pretty much worn out at the thought of getting a car before the year ends. So we weren't like, I wasn't really worried about the car at that point. Like, I was just like, let's go for it. Let's see what's out there. Because my husband was like, I don't know about a minivan. I'm not really into minivans. You know how guys are. So I was like, okay, I want both of us to get a car that we like, because we're both going to be using it, obviously. So we were looking at cars. We went on the Kia dealership. My husband was like, are there any SUVs that's big enough for our family? And I was like, yeah, they have the Kia Telluride. Now, mind you, the Kia Telluride was I think the Kia Telluride is the biggest SUV they have from Kia. All the other, they do have like another SUV that fits our family, because we're a family of 7. So they do have an SUV that fits that amount, but it's not spacious, you know, it's pretty like tight. So I showed my husband the Kia Telluride, and he was like, oh, I like this car. You know, I think this is a good SUV for us. It's spacious. Let's apply for financing. So we submitted the credit application online. Then the next day came, we didn't hear anything. And then my husband ended up contacting someone from the Kia dealership, got in contact with the person. They were like, yeah, we can get you, if you come in, you know, we can get you approved for this car, etc., etc. So my husband ended up going to the car dealership that next day. I think it was a Saturday. We applied for financing Friday, and then he went in Saturday. I'm gonna put the dates on the screen because I don't remember, but I did write it down, but I'm gonna put it on the screen. So yeah, my husband went to the car dealership Saturday. The reason why my husband only went was because he had to catch an Uber because we didn't have a car. Now, obviously, you know, in my mind, I'm thinking when we get a car, you know, we're all going to be there. But, you know, God works in mysterious ways, and I still believe that dream is still going to come to pass, but probably for a different car. My husband went to the car dealership. You know, I'm praying, y'all. Like, matter of fact, I forgot to mention that before my husband submitted the application, I was praying. I was like, God, if it's your will, then let it be done. And I literally said that prayer over and over and over. Before we submitted the application, after we submitted the application, before we heard back from someone, before my husband went to the dealership, while he was at the dealership, I was saying, God, if it's in your will, then let it be done. God, if it's in your will, then let it be done. And I kept saying that over and over and over. So once my husband got to the car dealership, you know, I'm up early, bright and early. Usually I don't be up early. So it's probably like 7-ish, 8-ish. I think the car dealership open at 9. So I'm up like 7 something. Can't sleep because I'm so, you know, anxious. I was so nervous. So my husband got up, went to the car dealership. I'm just waiting for his phone call. I'm praying. I'm writing in my journal, talking to God, like, God, if it's in your will, then let it be done. So he called me, and so when he called me, I was like, hello, you know, I'm nervous. I'm like, what's going on? So he was like, he was basically telling me that, to send him some documents that they asked for. And then he was also telling me that we needed to get insurance, because I forgot to mention that was also something that we was also doing as well. That night we applied for the finance, we also started looking for insurance plans, because we never bought a car straight off the lot, but from word of mouth, they said that they do require you to have insurance on a car before you can drive it off the lot. So, you know, we were, you know, dotting all our P's and Q's before we get this car. So, my husband was at the dealership. He was calling me. He was like, okay, so they got 2 cars for me. They got the Kia Telluride, and they also got the Carnival. He did tell me that the Carnival had a lower car note, but the Kia was a bit higher. And you know me, I'm like, I asked God for a Kia Carnival, so why aren't you getting a Kia Carnival? And my husband's like, I don't want the Kia Carnival. He was like, you know what, man, forget it. I'm finna get the Kia Telluride, which had the higher car note. And I was like, okay. I already knew, like, once my husband has his mind set up on something, I already know. That's a wrap. So he ended up telling me that he told the guy he wanted to apply for the Kia Telluride. So he applied for the Kia Telluride. His application got approved, and I already knew. I was like, right then, I was like, that's nothing but God. Like, I literally prayed. I said, thank you, God. And I even told God, I said, God, please allow my husband to get the car that he wants and be able to afford this car note every month. Because it was a bit higher than what we originally wanted to pay. But I already knew my husband. Like, once he got his mind set up, that's it. So my husband applied. He did the paperwork. He called me, told me to apply for some insurance, look for some insurance, because he can't drive the car without the insurance. So I ended up finding an insurance where we could pay 6 months off, and that was the cheapest quote. So I found the insurance full coverage. It was just a lot cheaper than the other insurance we saw the night before. And I applied for the insurance, got the insurance card, sent it over to him. He said that they were doing some, had to do a bunch of paperwork. You know me, I'm anxious, I'm nervous. I'm like, okay, the application got approved. Like, what's next? So he was just telling me that they had him filling out a whole bunch of paperwork, and they were going over, like, the company he was financing the car with, and et cetera, how much he needed to put down, et cetera. And I was just excited. So I'm just anxious. I'm just never like, okay. So long story short, after all this waiting, from not having a car for almost 2 years, from being denied left and right, October 21st, God blessed us with a brand new 2024 Kia Telluride. And y'all, I couldn't be more excited. And this is a dream come true, because this is the first car that we've actually like bought straight off the lot, like brand new. And now I understand why God had us waiting for so long, because what we were asking for was a big act. But during this process, I also realized that God was preparing us for the blessing, because I always think back to the process of how it all started. Had we got approved for that car that was $15,000 with 100,000 plus miles on it, I'm pretty sure we probably wouldn't even have that car by now, because the car was used. I'm pretty sure that it probably had more than one owner, probably been in an accident, and those type of cars never last. And I'm so happy that God didn't allow us to settle, because the wait was worth it, y'all. We literally got a brand new car. Not to brag or boost, but it's huge, y'all. This was huge for us. This was huge for us, because we had been without a car for almost 2 years. Then we had the process of buying a car, took pretty much almost a year, y'all. We was pretty much 3 months away from a new year, and God blessed us with a car. So if God can do it for us, he can do it for you. So if you're waiting for a blessing from God, please be patient. Don't settle. Always remember that anytime you ask God for something, he's not going to just hand it over to you or give it to you when you see fit. He's going to give it to you in his timing, because he has to prepare things for us in order to receive the blessing. And that's something that I also had to learn too during this process, is that when you ask God for something, he has to prepare everybody that's going to be a part of that blessing in order for you to get the blessing. And I feel like that's exactly what he did, because just imagine you asking God for something, and then the blessing you ask for God, it is given to you from someone that's wicked, or someone that cursed you, or pretty much wish bad on you. You're not gonna that blessing wouldn't last long. If anything, it would come with so much chaos, and just it will do more harm than good. So always think about that too when you're asking God for something. He has to prepare the people that's going to be a part of that blessing for you to receive it. But another thing I wanted to point out too, because I know you guys are probably like, well, you didn't get the car that you asked. Correct, I did not get the Kia Telluride. Now, I did not get the Kia Carnival, which was the minivan that I originally had prayed to God for. Now, let me tell y'all something about God. God knows your heart. God reads your thoughts. He knows your feelings. He knows you inside out. And when I had prayed and asked God for the Kia Carnival, I did want the Kia Carnival. But the only reason why I wanted the Kia Carnival was because it was a minivan, and it was big enough for our family, and it was more than enough room for us. So I had, like, when you have a big family, a family that requires more than 2-row seats, you're not thinking of, I want this car because it's my favorite car, or I want this car because I always wanted this car, right? You're thinking of being practical. You're thinking of being comfortable, thinking of your family, not just yourself. So when I was asking God for the Kia Carnival, it was not a car that I wholeheartedly wanted, that I would die for if I didn't get the car, right? It was just a car I wanted because it was practical and big enough to fit our family. God knows your heart. Now let me tell you how this all ties in. So back when Kia originally came out with the Kia Telluride, I'm talking about the first ever Kia Telluride. I think this was in like 2019, 2018. I don't really remember, but I remember seeing that car. I remember seeing the Kia Telluride. I think it was all black. And at that time, around 2018, 2019, I loved all black cars. It was just so sexy to me. So when I first saw the Kia Telluride, I was like, oh my goodness, I want this car. Now, mind you, during that time also, I had a lot of cars that I wanted, y'all. But that Kia Telluride, I wanted that Kia Telluride. But obviously, you know, over the years, I forgot about the Kia Telluride. I mean, I didn't ask God for the car when I said I wanted it. I just said I wanted it, but I never prayed about it. I never, you know, talked to God about it. I just said I wanted it because it was a nice car. So fast forward to 2023. God blessed me with the car that I asked for years ago. Years ago. And not to mention, it was not in black, a bluish color. And blue is my favorite color. And when I wanted the Kia Carnival, I wanted a blue Kia Carnival, and God blessed me with a blue Kia Telluride. I'm gonna show you guys the car at the end, but I say all this to say, always remember that God gives you what your heart desires. God gives you what you need, not exactly what you want. Because I'm pretty sure, had I got that Kia Carnival, I probably wouldn't have been happy with it. I probably would have been happy because I have a car, but I would not have been like, oh my goodness, I'm driving my dream car, you know, because it was just a car, would have just worked out for our family size. But y'all, when I say God is always on time, God is always on time, because when I tell you, when I got the Kia Telluride, it never dawned on me that I had asked for this car years ago. Because I had forgot about the car, you know, so much stuff was going on in my life. I wasn't thinking about a car. I had a car. It wasn't a car that I wanted, but it was a car that, you know, we could afford. So when we got the Kia Telluride, I just like, all I could say was, thank you, God. And thank my husband, because if it wasn't for my husband pushing us to get that Kia Telluride, it wouldn't have dawned on me that this is exactly the car that I wanted. And when I tell y'all, I love our car. I absolutely love it. Like, it is so nice, y'all. It's spacious, super spacious. It has leather seats. It has a nice, I'm gonna show y'all. I'm gonna show y'all everything. But yeah, y'all, I love our car. And I'm just so happy that God listens to our heart and not our thoughts, because sometimes what we want in our heart, sometimes our heart can be deceitful too, but God knows us inside and out. So when God blessed us with that Kia Telluride, all I could say was thank you, God. Thank you for listening to my heart and not just my thoughts, like what I just thought was what we needed. No. And our kids love the car too. They really, really love the car. We all love the car. Like, we all love it. So, but that is me and my husband's car testimony video, y'all. I hope this video was not too long, but if you guys watched it in its entirety, then I thank you so much for listening to my testimony. And I pray that this testimony is proof to you all who's waiting for God to bless you with something, that God is gonna come through, and he's gonna come through in the most unthinkable, supernatural way, because we were getting turned down left and right, and we just gave up. We were like, oh, we just threw in the towel. We was like, you know what? And then God brought us back to it, and literally when it was time, the process was like this. Like, not even a full day. It just took us a few hours to get our car, and that was it. So always remember that God timing is impeccable. God timing is always on time, and listen, God will give you what you ask for. So trust in God, have faith in God, pray, read your word, fast if you need to, and just hold on to your faith. Because listen, all those months of waiting for this car, it was not easy, y'all. Like, I cried at one point or two. I cried. I wanted to give up. I literally was so angry with God. I'm like, God, you gave me this dream. I thought I was going to get this car, and I get the car. And y'all, I was mad. And God knew I was mad. But I also still kept my faith. I had my moment of doubt. I had my moment of being angry with God. But I kept my faith, and I still prayed. I still asked God for it. And I kept my faith. So, sorry, God, if I don't know what's going on, y'all. I'm just sick, but nonetheless, y'all, God will pull through. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a big thumbs up, and if you haven't already, go ahead and click that subscribe button, and also leave a comment and share with me something that God has blessed you with, that you were waiting for and you thought you weren't gonna get, because I love to hear other people's stories. But bye, guys.